there is still this sense of here and there.
Mhm.
And it's not that it's personal,
Yeah.
it's just that there's this perceived, and it's more than this, it's more than just this one word, but for sake of convenience, this perceived distance that there's here and there's over there.
Yeah, and we can talk about that. It's a really fun one. I mean, at least this is the sixth Fetter is always so much more fun to talk about than so many of the others. So take a something that's across the room from you, however far away that might be. All right.
Okay.
So the feeling of distance, the feeling that that is further away out there than something in here, right? What I want
Okay.
you to do first is to pick a point that seems to be the furthest away from where you are, the farthest out that you can see.
Okay.
All right. Now, checking in, I would say first with your physical experience. Do you have anything in your physical experience which seems to be reinforcing this idea of space? And the first way that it might be showing up is if you notice physical sensations in the body,
Mhm.
and these are just stock standard sensations that are in the body, something maybe in your chest, in your torso, something that seems to be solid, giving you an indication that there's a body lurking somewhere in space. And then noticing that you are not actually feeling that thing that is out there. There's a feeling of there's sensation here, and there is a
Right.
lack of sensation there,
Right.
right? So there's an immediate duality that's being set up there by this is not me because I can feel this, I cannot feel that. So
Right.
there is a separation there. So that can be part of it.
Yeah.
There,
You started describing it, and my mind was already going there. Although I don't think
amazing.
I would have gotten it with as much detail as you did.
Okay, amazing. The others now, there's a more subtle version too, or a subtle physical sensation, which is often part of this. There is a thing that happens where if you're focusing, you know, hold your eyes on one particular point in front of you,
Okay.
and if you feel into that range around the chest, the throat, up through that area, become aware of as you're holding your attention on one particular spot out in front of you, if there is some sort of movement, some checking in, pulling in, inhaling, sucking, swallowing, something which goes kind of from out there to in here and then back out there to in here.
Um, it's not. It doesn't seem to be physical. Um, we've talked about this before in the past. It's that shifting attention, that attention out here, and then the attention turns back on the
Yep,
physical organism.
good.
And sometimes not. There's mental pictures of the body or the face, or some portion of the physicality, and then it goes back out there, and
Yeah.
it seems to alternate between the two.
And now, um, in that movement of take your attention out on the furthest object again,
Okay.
does it feel to you like attention is something which is actively pointing out and straight across? Um,
Hmm.
Contrast that with hold your attention out there. And
Mhm.
now I'm going to ask you to bring your attention into the body, but as you do it, I want you to do it slowly and feel exactly what it feels like for attention to move from out there to in here,
Okay.
to see what is happening, A, in your visual field, but more importantly, B, in the physical field. Notice what's happening around the eyes, in the throat, in the chest. That
Okay.
it very slowly start to bring your attention from out there to in here, to say the middle of the chest, and check in with those sensations. And notice if it feels like attention is literally moving from out there across a sense of space to locate itself back inside the chest? Does it feel like there's a sense of time and movement that is inherent in that experience of shifting attention from out there to in here?
You said a sense of time and what was the other part?
Of movement, like does it feel like something is actively, almost like if you picture like a camera lens that turns and goes out and comes back?
Right.
Does it feel like that sort of movement is happening somewhere in the body where you are actually extending out and then kind of turning back inwards?
Not quite.
Okay. What is your actual experience of what's happening between being out there and being in here?
It's more along the lines of what happens when you're thinking about one thought and then you go to think another one.
Good. Excellent. So
You definitely shift from one thought to another, to the next, and there's even perhaps a sense of time, but it doesn't feel like anything's really moving. It's just what's being apprehended is shifting.
nice. Okay. Stay focused on one thing out in front of you, but even though you're still, your eyes are focused on one spot directly in front, keep your the peripheral vision expanded as well.
Okay.
Does it seem as though the sense of distance is the same with the periphery being taken into account, and also go not just periphery left to right, but take in the peripheral from the all the way up and all the way down too? Does it still seem to have that same feeling of distance when you're taking in the totality of the visual field, left to right, up and down, as
No,
compared to just the?
it seems like what's the word? It seems shallower.
Yeah. So I would like you to go back and forth between being focused directly out on one spot, like small spotlight focus, and then do the wide floodlight side to side and up to down, and see if you can feel any physical sensations that seem to correlate with that shallowing.
Hmm. Yeah, there does seem to be a bit of a contraction somewhere in all of that. It's hard to pinpoint where exactly it's starting. Keep playing with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of contraction or tension around trying to maintain the peripheral in the peripheral field.
Yeah. And when you're, do you find it, because what I would say is normally, in my experience, it's that focusing out onto one thing in the spotlight gives a bit more attention in the eyes, the chest. There seems to be a bit more um,
Mm,
contraction and limitation in that, and tension in maintaining a focus on one small spot, and then pulling the attention out to the sides. Having that shallowness comes in, to me, has always felt more open, relaxed. There's less of that feeling of bodily tension that's taken to be something separate from that thing.
well, you know what seemed to be happening there was, and this goes back to something else that is in one of the earlier conversations about um, maintaining focus and how we have to uh, tighten the eye muscles or grit our teeth or do things to, that seems to be a part of this business of putting focus on something and exerting exerting ourselves to do it, and it's not really necessary. You know, you can do those things without having to um, uh, do that physical portion of it. You know, you don't have to tense up or tighten up to do it. And so that came to mind, and um, I recognized, okay, so that actually isn't really required. The first sense was that to maintain the peripheral vision took some effort, and so there was this tension around exertion, you know, making the effort to maintain the peripheral view. But you know, that previous conversation seemed to indicate that that's actually not the case. So that was the next place I was going to, is, can I take in the peripheral field without having to exert myself, or without any tightening up or tensing up? And that seems to be the case.
Excellent.
If I actually am aware of that, and then you know, there's the intention to set aside the exertion, and what makes that up. So let me see. Yeah, I can do that. I can open up the wider perspective without having to um, contract or tighten up.
Nice.